Okay, so I meant to get back to this sooner. I know the same thing happened with Shaman. I covered the first two specs, and then there was a gap with the last spec. So, Outlaw is one of the few specs in the game that they have more or less completely redid, and made it more of a kind of a flavor spec to what it was supposed to be. Um, they made the changes during Warlords, as they did with a bunch of other things. It was always kind of a pirate themed spec, and that's kind of what they made it more so. So, I have ran around the Forbidden Reach. I've done some dungeons. Um, I want to say I've done some PvP. If I did, it was a little while ago. I typically don't do PvP with Outlaw because it does lack some of the CC abilities. It is the one spec out of the three rogue specs, or the only spec um, out of the rogue specs that doesn't rely on you using stealth abilities. In fact, the only stealth ability you have is ambush. Um, at least as far as a DPS ability goes. You do have cheap shot. You do have sap, pickpocket, and then of course shroud of concealment. However, you don't have to use any of those at all, and you'll be just fine. So in that way, it really does play more like a feral druid. Um, there is a benefit if you use your stealth abilities, however, it's not necessarily required. So, to go over the abilities first, you have Sinister Strike, which is your melee ability. You have Pistol Shot, which was one of the new abilities they added when they retooled the spec. So this is a ranged ability. And I would argue with the talents you can take, this is your main combo point generator. You have Dispatch, which is your Eviscerate. Basically, it is um, your big kind of um, direct damage ability. Shadow Step, Between the Eyes, again, another ability they added when they made all their changes. So this is a ranged finishing move. It's also one that you want to keep up as much as possible because it increases your critical strike. So if you have this up, again, with pistol shot, you will almost refill your combo points, at least 4, if not 5, almost every time you use one of your abilities. Um, you have Roll the Bones, which was a baseline ability when they made all the changes during Warlords. Now it is a talent. Slice and Dice, and then of course you have Vanish, Fint, Evasion. Um, Killing Spree, which I mentioned because I'm pretty sure it was, if not a baseline ability, it was higher up in the old talent trees or lower in the talent trees. It was in the higher level talent trees. Um, and this is what every rogue took if you played Outlaw. Blade Fury, which was a baseline ability back. I think it might have even been before Warlords. But this turns all your single target abilities into AoE abilities, basically, for 10 seconds. And then, of course, Adrenaline Rush, which again used to be baseline, now it's a talent. Um, par for the course with abilities becoming talents now. Crimson Vial, which replaced the finishing move that you had that healed you over time for a long time. Blind, Kidney Shot. Um, Outlaw has the added benefit of Grappling Hook, so it kind of works like a Heroic Leap. You target an ability and you grapple, but it's kind of the same thing. You kind of launch yourself forward towards that location. So, actually, very helpful. I like actually using this a lot. So, and then Shiv, which has been in and out of the game and in and out of various specs. So, I really use it just as a to remove enrages. That's pretty much it. It's a weird ability. It's always kind of been a weird ability with what it's done and or the cooldown that it's had, and then of course Cloak of Shadows. So there's mainly two abilities that I want to focus on. The spec overall is not that difficult to play. You have Sinister Strike and Pistol Shot as your main two damage abilities. Pistol Shot will proc, and more often than not generate an additional combo point, if not combo points. So from there, you just want to make sure you keep between the eyes up for its critical strike chance and its damage over time. And then most of the time you'll be using Dispatch just to spend your combo points so you're not generating more when you have your maximum of 6. 6 if you take a talent. So there's an interesting interaction between Roll the Bones and Slice and Dice, depending on which order you use these in. Roll the Bones will grant you 1 of 5 buffs. And all of these buffs kind of do the same thing. They increase either your combo point generation. Most of them increase damage, critical strike. One of them will reduce the cooldown of various abilities per combo point. However, there is a ability called Grand Melee, which increases attack speed and leech. And this has a very interesting interaction with Slice and Dice if you use Roll the Bones first. Because what happens is it assumes it's or considers it a more powerful enhancement. So if you use Roll the Bones, and out of these 5 buffs that you can get, you get one that increases your attack speed, and then you try to use Slice and Dice. Slice and Dice won't do anything. You'll get a message that comes up that says a more powerful enhancement is active. Now, you can avoid this if you use Slice and Dice first and then Roll the Bones. Now, what will happen if you get that same buff is it will add to Slice and Dice. So they do stack together. I've had 70 seconds of Slice and Dice, 60 seconds. With 6 combo points, you only get 42. I've seen where different things say that Roll the Bones is based on your combo points that you have at the time. I'm not sure how much it actually does by that. If what I saw was correct, it adds 2 seconds per combo point. So with 5 combo points, that's an additional 10 seconds. And I typically use it with 5, maybe 6. 5 is more the average. That still doesn't explain how you would get up to 70% or a little higher. I can only assume that the buff is stacking and then restacking. I don't use Roll the Bones all that often. I do tend to use Slice and Dice as kind of a filler ability. Um, you don't have really much of anything to use if you have combo points and combat ends, if your target dies. So I'll typically use Slice and Dice, even if I don't keep the buff until the next target, just to spend them on something. Um, so if you use Roll the Bones, you just have to make sure you use Slice and Dice first. Now, how beneficial Roll the Bones is I think questionable depending on what it is you're doing. I don't notice a major difference. Like if I'm watching my damage with recount, and I'm in a dungeon, I'm not gonna notice that my DPS has dropped off because I let the buffs from Roll the Bones fall off. And I'm not going to notice a big jump in DPS if I have Roll the Bones on cooldown, basically. It's just kind of because the enhancements are random, and because each one does something different, so it's basically a random effect every time. And again, you may get one, you may get two, you may get all five. It just kind of depends. Um, every 45 seconds, so more than 3/4 of a minute, um, you get to try for something else. Whereas something like Slice and Dice, you know what you're going to get exactly each time. The duration just may vary because of the combo points you use. Um, so for the time being, I'm keeping it. I could very easily see replacing this with something else, or um, just finding something more useful to use. I think the random effect is not going to be beneficial for some people. I can't see that being helpful if you were doing like Mythic Plus or higher level rating, things like that. Because again, you just don't know what you're going to get. Um, Now, I have had on at least one occasion, I have had Slice and Dice give me that message where it just wouldn't do anything. Um, after using it and then using Roll the Bones, I went back to use Slice and Dice just to spend my combo points after combat had ended, when I was running around the Forbidden Reach. And I had like 70. That was when I had like 70 seconds of Slice and Dice. So I'm not exactly sure how that's happened. Again, it's all kind of random, so it's hard to pay attention to figure it out. If it hadn't been telling me it was doing it, I'm not entirely sure I would have even noticed. Um, so it's a bit weird in that. It's also a bit weird in that it doesn't seem, if you had combo points that were to refresh or replace the duration so that it would last longer, I almost want to say it won't even let you do that because it considers the whole duration a more powerful enhancement, which is a bit weird. You can replace Slice and Dice with itself as long as you are replacing it with a longer duration. Um, it just considers Roll the Bones to be, I guess, a different effect than, even though it's granting you the same thing as Slice and Dice, it seems to, that particular buff, it seems to consider a more powerful version of Slice and Dice. I'm not entirely sure. It's just kind of a weird interaction. So, as I said, make sure you're using Slice and Dice first and then Roll the Bones. If you've played any of the other specs, you're probably already going to be in the habit of trying to keep Slice and Dice up anyway. Um, I was really bad with using Roll the Bones. I was when it first came out. I was when I took it, and I kind of set up Outlaw, so I was trying to play around. And get more in the habit of using it, see if it was actually doing anything, because I do somewhat remember it being really good back when it first came out. Um, the other ability that I wanted to mention, for some of the same reason, was Killing Spree. Killing Spree used to be the big damage dealer for Outlaw. Um, it seems less so now. Again, kind of the same thing. Um, I don't notice it doing a lot. Definitely helps. It's definitely damage. I do get a bit of a damage increase when I was doing dungeons. I was saving it for the boss for the most part. A few times I used Blade Fury, which will turn it into an AoE ability, and tried using it on trash. That seemed less productive than just using it on the boss. It has a 2-minute cooldown, so you won't really be able to use it much more than maybe once, maybe twice, depending on the boss during any given encounter. Again, I could see taking something else. It also shares a talent with Dreadblades, which I feel like some people might be more inclined to take. Dreadblades being the artifact ability from Legion. The downside is it consumes 5% of your current health. However, once you reach level 70 and you get more adequately geared, I will say I am in all um, Forbidden Reach gear, all Primalist gear, fully upgraded, all 3 levels. Um, Health isn't too much of an issue as long as you're not, standing in stuff when you're in a dungeon, what have you. Um, it's really not all that bad, so you might be able to get away with using Dreadblades. Um, I always liked Killing Spree. I always thought Killing Spree was a fun ability to use. Its interaction with Blade Fury. Blade Fury used to work differently. It used to be kind of something you had to, almost like a stance, or how paladins used to have to put their, um, they had an ability for their taunt. Kind of the same thing. It used to be something you shifted on and off. So if you had it on, it would just stay on, and everything you did was basically an AoE effect. Then they changed it, I want to say, in Legion, Battle for Azeroth, somewhere in there. It wasn't. It was a while ago, but it was still somewhat kind of recent, where it only lasts for 10 seconds. So it was a bit of a nerf to the ability. Um, However, I always liked how it interacted with Killing Spree. It still does. Um, and this may be something that is one of those things that scales as your gear gets better. I've been mostly in Primalist gear. I've picked up a few pieces here and there just to fill out some of the pieces I was missing. For the most part, though, everything should more or less be doing its maximum damage. My gear's not going to get any better unless I started doing raiding. And like I said, it just didn't seem to be the big kind of damage dealer that it once was, with the which might partially be with the kind of the nerfs to everything we've had in the last few expansions and everything. So I could see taking something different. I don't use it as often because of that reason. I mostly use it, like I said, when I'm in a dungeon, on a boss, something like that. Anything else I can pretty much finish off with just using my regular rotation. If nothing else, I've got Kidney Shot. Between the eyes, Dispatch. I did take Sepsis, which works really well with Outlaw. It'll let you use Ambush twice. Once when you first use it, which generates 3 combo points, which is nice. And then once when it expires. You just have to be careful that you have 3 empty combo points to generate. Otherwise, you'll end up wasting 1, 2, or all 3, depending. So, as I said, dispatch is what you'll be using most of the time, and that's partially why. Um, of the 3 specs, you probably generate combo points the quickest with Outlaw. Um, I have noticed some issues with generating um, energy. So I've been tempted to look at trying to take Thistle Tea back. I think I had it when I first started, then I just never used it. However, that said, once you have Slice and Dice up and Roll the Bones with whatever random buffs you get from this, typically that kind of levels things out. That was one reason why I hadn't completely gotten rid of it yet. I've been on the fence with Roll the Bones. In longer fights in dungeons or with some of the rares that are around the Forbidden Reach. Some take a little bit longer than others. Um, I've noticed, midway towards the end, um, I'll seem like I'm running out of energy. I won't be able to use anything. I get, um, slice and dice up, roll the bones. As I said, that seems to help solve the issue. Sepsis I've used at different points during the fight. I've used it more as kind of an opener. Um, After I have between the eyes up, I'll use it more middle towards the end when, as I said, I kind of feel like I'm running out of energy and I don't have Sinister Strike or anything to use. And it works well as kind of that filler, like mid fight. I do have Adrenaline Rush. I don't use Adrenaline Rush that often. Um, just because it feels like I felt like I haven't really been in a situation where I've needed to use it. It lasts for 20 seconds, and most of the combat that I'm in is at least halfway over within 20 seconds. So I would end up using it, and then combat would end. So there just really hasn't been much of an opportunity to use it that often. Um, as far as the talents, if you've seen any other um, kind of state of video I've done where I've went over a spec, um, you will appreciate when I say that I haven't actually changed anything. Partially because I've been fairly happy with everything I took to begin with, and partially because I'm not sure kind of what else to take. Rogue might be one where the and it kind of varies depending on which spec you're in. The rogue talents are actually pretty good. Um, if I could take a few more of the end game ones, the ones lower on the tree, um, I would. The outlaw talents are good. It's mainly just taking everything I had before. Which I think kind of stifles the creativity of it. Um, and then you have um, some things that you get by default. Um, just because it's part of your specialization, I guess. Blind was the only one I thought. I thought you got. I thought you got Blade Fury as part of the spec. I may be wrong. Regardless, it's as I said, I've just kind of been taking what I had before. That's just how I'm familiar playing the spec and what I know is kind of useful and what's not, things like that. Um, so, haven't really felt a need to really change anything, and if I did change anything, I don't know what I would exactly change it for. Um, I have more abilities than perhaps I would with another spec. However, they all kind of do something different. Um, I've kind of played around enough that I'm comfortable in kind of knowing when to use what when, and kind of playing around with uh, sepsis and things like that, just to kind of see if I can improve how I use them and things like that. Um, if Adrenaline Rush wasn't where it is in the tree, I might use something else. If I change it, I lose Roll the Bones. I'd have to go in and like retweak everything. The middle part of the trees on several classes is really a bit of a pain because you have one ability that, for whatever reason, when I've played around, just isn't all that useful for the spec. And then you'll have one somewhere lower that is. So if you take, and I've kind of said this several times about several specs now. If you kind of have to take one thing you don't want for something you do. There is no other tree that branches into this, so I can't even swap out and go around Adrenaline Rush. So I'm just keeping it for the time being. It's not a bad ability. I just haven't really been in much of a situation to need it. So there's some other things I want to do in 10.1, so I'm keeping it for the time being. I did look at maybe trying to replace Killing Spree. I might play around with Dreadblades and see if that is any more of a benefit. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a fairly balanced spec. You have single target abilities, you have AoE abilities. Again, since they nerfed Blade Fury, you're maybe not as much of an AoE spec as it has been in the past. However, that doesn't seem to weaken the spec all that much. You can still generate enough combo points that you can do single target damage. So, it's not the end of the world. And other than that, yeah, it has been with grappling hook. It has been known as more of a movement spec. I know a lot of people that will use this to run older content between sprint and grappling hook. They can just move around quicker. You can use grappling hook like you can heroic leap, so you can grapple your way onto things or down to things or what have you. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'll show you my PvP talent real quick. Pretty straightforward. So, as I've been doing, the second part will be me resetting the talent if you're curious how I came to use what I currently am. I did also want to mention the poisons for Outlaw, um, because you really only have two, depending on what you're doing. I took. There we go. I took a trophic poison, which reduces damage that the target deals to you, as opposed to numbing poison. So I will use instant poison to do damage, and then a trophic poison to reduce damage taken. In PvE anyway. If you were going to be doing PvP, you still have wound poison and crippling poison. Wound poison reduces healing taken, and crippling poison slows movement speed. So technically you could use crippling poison. It still has somewhat of a benefit. Wound poison less so. Not many rares. I think there's one, maybe two, that have some sort of like a self-heal. Other than that, so a bit of a change from using Dragon Tempered Blades where you were able to have 4 up at a time. So instant poison and a trophic poison are typically what I've been using. Not the best poisons you could be using. They don't deal a ton of damage. A trophic poison doesn't deal damage at all. It just reduces damage that your target deals. So, could be better. That's really the only thing that I think if they improved anything would be to give Outlaw more, just a bit of a buff to the poisons in some way. Okay, so I want to set up Outlaw. I kind of wanted to play with it while I was doing things on the Forbidden Reach. And since I've already looked at Subtlety and Assassination, pretty sure I'm going to be using Assassination for PvP. So, kind of wanted to look at Outlaw. I played Outlaw quite a bit when they changed the spec from Combat to Outlaw. Kind of did a complete overhaul in Warlords. Played around with it quite a bit then, and kind of on and off since. So, gonna go through and, of course, reset the talents. These are the default talents, as you can see there. So we'll go ahead and reset all. So my knowledge of Outlaw is kind of suspect, I would say. I'm familiar with it. However, since it's not really a good PvP spec, I haven't done a whole lot with it. That's why I said I kind of wanted to do stuff with it while I was running around the Forbidden Reach. Because that kind of seems like more of what it was always for, was just like direct damage. So, Assassination was working, but a little bit more AoE and just a little bit more just overall damage would probably have been nice at different times. So, Sinister Strike has a 40% chance to hit an additional time, making your next pistol shot half cost and double the damage. Okay. Blade Fury, yes. Grappling Hook, yes. This was the other reason why I wanted to take this. This will make doing the vaults and whatever else a lot simpler. So, kind of works very similar, if I remember, to how like a Heroic Leap works. So, Sinister Strike has a 5% chance to strike an additional time. Increase your energy regeneration rate by 25. Yes. And be... let me see here. What is... Oh, okay, it's the mastery. Your main hand attacks have a 40% chance to trigger an additional attack with your offhand. Okay. I did go through my bags and find my best one-handed weapon. So I've got a one-handed weapon in the main hand slot, which you need for dispatch. And then a dagger in the offhand. I always use just two kind of one-handed weapons. I don't usually use daggers, and I think that was wrong. I don't know. I don't know if it's just like a kind of a choice in play style, or if that's actually like the optimal way to do it. So I'm going to try that and see. It seems like I had tried to do that once before, and it didn't work out all that well. So increases your energy regeneration rate. Yes. Repose. Sure. I think repose used to increase your mastery or your parry. It was a really weird ability for a DPS to have. Yeah. Yeah, actually, it's been so long since I played this, I still have the Heart of Azeroth on my command bar. So there you go. Increase the range of your melee attacks by 2 yards while Blade Fury is active. Don't know how much I'm actually going to be using Blade Fury. Just cooldown of blend by 30 seconds and increases the range by 5. Yes. Your finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point spent to grant a combo point. Your finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point spent to grant a combo point. I'll take it. I kind of won't have a choice if I want to move down the tree. Finishing moves. Reduce the remaining cooldown of mini rogue skills by 1 second per combo point spent. Affected skills, Adrenaline Rush, Between the Eyes, Blade Fury, Blade Rush, Dread Blades, which were your artifact ability. Ghostly Strike, Grappling Hook, Keep It Rolling, Killing Spree, Marked for Death, Rolled Bones, Sprint, and Vanish. Okay. Definitely works on enough things. Your offhand attacks have a 60% chance to generate an energy. Okay. Critical strikes with Between the Eyes deal 4 times the normal damage. Okay. I believe this stuns the target, right? No, maybe not. Finishing move that deals damage with your pistol. Increasing your critical strike chance against the target up to 20 by 20%. Okay. cost uses of pistol shot granted by Sinister Strike now generate 1 additional combo point and deal 20% additional damage. To strike, roll the bones. Random combat enhancements for 30 seconds. Do I need that though? Attacks that generate combo points deal 10% increased damage. So that would be Sinister Strike, Pistol Shot. Shit. I'm gonna move back here. Yeah, so I don't know if I'll keep Gorge or not. I don't really ever use it. And if I have Sinister Strike and Pistol Shot, I should be good with those. That much I do remember. 10% increased damage. So, I mean, that wouldn't be terrible. Yeah. Half catches of Pistol Shot have a 40% chance to cause your next ambush to be usable without stealth. Chance to trigger this effect matches the chance from your Sinister Strike to strike an additional time. And I only have ambush. I don't have anything else. So, okay. Because that's not really the point of Outlaw. It's the spec that's more focused around doing damage outside of stealth. So, 40% chance to make your next ambush usable without stealth. Now, Assassination has an ability like this, and I did not care for it. Gain 1 additional max combo point. Your finishing moves that consume 5 combo points have increased effectiveness, and your finishing moves deal 5% increased damage. No, I'm good with 5, I think. So, I just wonder if I'm going to be taking... Well, that uses energy, though, doesn't it? Yeah, it doesn't use combo points. Okay. I'll take that. Try that. Activating Adrenaline Rush causes your next roll of bones to grant at least 2 matches. Relentless Blades. Oh, there we go. Relentless Blades now also reduces the remaining cooldown of Evasion and Feint by 0.5. That's 10% increased chance to grant additional matches. You know what? I'm going to take both of those. There we go. Okay. Now we've kind of opened up the tree there. So, Sinister Strike has a 10% chance to strike. both weapons after it strikes an additional time. Hmm. Ambush and Dispatch have a 10% chance to grant you Roll the Bones combat enhancement buff you do not already have for 5 seconds. Duration and chance doubled while stealth. I kind of like that. Kind of gives stealth a little bit of something extra. Okay. Count the odds. Generate full combo points when you gain Adrenaline Rush and again when it ends. So you gotta be careful with Adrenaline Rush because you can actually end up wasting combo points. Increases your energy regeneration by 60%. That is interesting. Don't know that I really need that. Consumes 5 or more combo points. Dispatch deals 5% increased damage and costs 5 less energy. Max 5 stacks. Adding a stack does not refresh the duration. Okay, so killing spree. Teleport to enemy within 10 yards, attacking them with both weapons for a total physical damage. And taking 35% reduced damage over 2 seconds while Blade Fury is active. Also hit up to 4 nearby enemies for 100% of the damage. Strike an enemy dealing physical damage and empowering your weapons for 8 seconds, causing your Sinister Strike, Ambush, and Pistol Shot to fill your combo points. But your finishing moves consume 5% of your current health. I'm fine with killing spree. When Sinister Strike strikes an additional time, gain 1 additional stack of opportunity, max 6 stacks. Half-cost pistol shots consume 1 additional stack of opportunity to fire 1 additional shot. Additional shots generate 1 fewer combo points. Has a 20% chance per combo point to increase the damage of your next pistol shot. Okay. Kind of lackluster finishing kind of lackluster end talents here. Okay. Strike an enemy dealing physical damage and causing the target to take 10% increased damage from your abilities for 10 seconds. Well, I mean, Ambush does do more damage. The thing is, though, I already have so many other abilities. Haste increased 10% with stealth. Wait for 10 seconds after leaving stealth. Effects that grant you chance for sinister strike. Additional time also apply to ambush. I kind of like Ghostly Strike because I'm probably not going to take Gorge. So I just never use it typically for whatever reason. I know what Sepsis does. And I'm very tempted because it would work with Ambush well. However, I do like the causes the target to take 10% increased damage for 10 seconds. Although this does way more damage, though. Okay, I'm going to take that. I'll play around with that and see how that does. Yeah, okay. And no, so upside ambush. There we go. I think that was about the best way to finish to get to a to finish from going down going all the way down a tree. So there's healing abilities, or more specifically, there's discipline abilities that do the same thing with like atonement that try to keep. There's abilities to try to keep other abilities duration, like extend their duration and things like that. And I'm just not coordinated enough. And yeah, yeah. So kind of gives stealth a little bit of something extra without taking too much away from our actual like non-stealth abilities. So okay, so Shiv, I'm gonna have to take because I want evasion. Yes. No. Yes. Zap, yes. Cloak of Shadows, yes. Don't need Tricks of the Trade. I will take that, though. I will take Cheat Death. That has saved me on more than one occasion. I do use... Well, I was using Wounding Poison. Okay, so I don't want that. I want that. I want Vigor. I want to go all the way down, probably to Thistle Tea. I want Shadow Step. Do I want Subterfuge? I think I do, because I still have Cheap Shot, so I'm going to... Okay, so I'm going to... Let me drag this down here. So I'm going to Shadow Step, Cheap Shot, Ambush, and then probably Kidney Shot. So I can still kind of use the same opener. Yeah, so that's fine. Energy cost of finishing reduced 10%. Yes. While stealth is active, your abilities... I don't really have that many abilities now, so... Yes. Reduces the duration of movements. Yes. Uh, Energy cost of kidney shot, cheap shot, sap, injection are reduced 20%. Yes. Yes. Increases the range of your melee attacks by yes. Okay, so leeching, yes. Sealed fate, yes. Thistle tea, yes. And it increases, yeah, it still increases mastery. Okay. Getting quite used to using thistle tea. So, um, this is showing a lot of promise. So, yeah. Okay, so I've got blade berry. Actually, I'm going to swap these. There we go. Finish your moves have a 5% chance per combo point to grant 1% haste for. Okay. Don't completely remember what I was putting. Really say 4% more damage. Everything into ambush generates 1 additional combo point. Okay. You are healed for 30% of your maximum health over 6 seconds after gaining. Sure. Physical damage reduced. Don't really use sap all that much, so every time I do, for some reason I it knocks me out of stealth. And that could partially be just me using it incorrectly, which is entirely possible. Healing has been an issue, so I will take. Yeah, we'll take that. And I think that's everything. So we changed quite a bit around. Okay. So I feel good about that. As I said, this shows some promise. I'll have to remember how to use everything again. Because I don't think Blade Fury stays up anymore. I think it only has, yeah, it only lasts for. Well, 30-second cooldown. So for 10 seconds? Used to be something you could trigger on and off. Okay, every. Oh my. There are quite a few. Come on, maneuver. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. I am kind of looking forward to playing around with this and seeing how this seeing how this works. So, hope you enjoyed that, and thank you for watching.